Hi, welcome to Tea with Jann. I am Jann. Today we are brewing up some wonderful tea. It smells wonderful. Can't wait to tell you more about this. I'm gonna do a questions and answer with the owner. See if I can get this working. Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
nice to virtually meet you.
Yes, indeed. We've been chatting for some time back and forth on social media.
First off, can you just tell us a little bit about you and how you got into it? I know I read your backstory, but would love
Yeah.
to hear. Yeah.
So my backstory is like my family's always been into tea, and I grew up in a military family. So we travel around a lot growing up. Spent a lot of my youth in Germany, and Dad used to bring home tea all the time, and so we just kind of grew up with tea in our household. And then we landed in Nova Scotia. Grew up here through school, traveled around a bit and came back. Looked at opening my first kind of cafe slash tea house slash back then it was internet cafes was a thing back in the 90s,
Right.
and didn't really pan out to be anything that would really look at like it was going to make any money. There was a lot of like, I think Starbucks was just coming into town, and tea shops were just failing, and Tivana was just on their upswing. They weren't even like uh, super big as a franchise. David C didn't even exist. So I get into corporate finance and hotels, and when did that for a good 15 years. Had a workplace accident that gave me a significant brain injury, and was out of work for about a year. And then when I came back, through my rehabilitation, I fell into like tea and kombucha and making tea as my daily ritual to restore my brain. And I came back and I was like, I want to do this for a living. And at that point, I'd open up World Tea House as a hobby store, just as something to occupy my time with. Did some farmers markets and stuff like that. And it just grew into a brick and mortar. And then traveling around, meeting my farmers, it just kind of grew from there. So it'll be 10 years in June. The shop on Argyle Street, but it'll be 11 years in business when you count my online stuff.
That's amazing. What's your favorite part of the whole tea business? Like what part's your
Um,
favorite?
Definitely traveling and meeting the farmers and the people who produce it, and their passion of the belief from an agricultural perspective is really fantastic. I mean, we get to enjoy the end product, but really experiencing it from the ground to your cup is phenomenal. Like just being on a tea farm and drinking the tea that you just made the previous day, there's nothing like that in the world. Like that's heaven for me. But
Yeah.
can't do that in Nova Scotia. We can't grow tea.
Yeah. I can only imagine what that would be like. That's amazing. So, what would be your best-selling tea?
Best-selling teas for us are our breakfast blend definitely sells really well. Our world breakfast, Earl Grey cream,
Okay.
sells well. Our way of making it is different than your big stores because we use real bergamot oil from Italy, and then we make a vanilla extract of Madagascar vanilla beans, and then double cure it. And so it takes about 3 weeks for us to make a batch. So people just absolutely adore it. Um, we're out of stock of it a lot, just simply because it takes 3 weeks to make 25 pounds, and I sell more than 25 pounds in a month. So it's kind of a production issue with us with small
Yeah.
batch making. Um, but yeah, that's definitely one of our top sellers. Our masala chai is very popular. It's just a very traditional Indian chai. It's just it's just great because all the spices I get fresh every month or two, and it's just always super. It doesn't get warehoused or anything like that. It's blended in India, shipped, and then with chai you want to cure it, but it cures in shipping. So as soon as it hits my store, it's been in a sealed bag for a week. It goes on my shelf, and then you're getting tea that was made a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So
That's amazing. So with the port barreled one, can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, how
yeah,
did you dream that up? Like,
yeah. So this is kind of a weird thing. Our my friends run Two Pros Brewery. I've been in the craft beer scene for a while, supplying ingredients like anything from like spices to green tea for Hunky Dory in Boxing Rock in Shelburne. They've been making green tea beer for I don't know, with them 8 years or more.
okay.
So when these new craft breweries started popping up 5-6 years ago, I was kind of already had a foot in the scene with some of the original kind of bigger craft breweries, and so they started sourcing products from me. So that's kind of how I got into the beer scene. But then with the beer scene comes this barrel program, which they put beer in barrels and then let them sit there for a while. But what they'll do is they'll get these barrels in, but they might not use them for a couple months, right? So they're just sitting in their breweries. And my friend at Low Point Coffee was putting coffee beans in these barrels to soak them, and then he would roast them and all these things. So I was like, well, I could do that with tea. I can't soak them in it, but I rigged up a system that I could suspend the tea in these barrels to scent them, similar to how you scent green tea with jasmine in China. So I was very inspired by like the Chinese scenting method, which I studied, and then kind of taking that into the spirit side was really interesting. So we did our first batch in Two Pros 2 years ago with just port barrels, and that turned out really good, but problematic because we didn't take the barrels apart. Like, we didn't take the top off them. We just had the little hole in top. So funneling in the tea was easy, but then we had this tea suspended in this great big bag inside the barrel. And then we were like, oh crap, how do we get this out? Because it was just in it, right? So we ended up sterilizing a shop vac and sucking the tea out of the bags that were suspended inside the barrel. So that was our first kind of well, we can't do that because that's just, I mean, it worked, but it was very small yield. We only had like a kilo per barrel, and so we only had 2 barrels, so we only made like 2 or 3 kilos of tea, which is not a lot when you're talking. That's only a kilo is only 10 bags, right? So or 20 bags if you do 50 grams. But yeah, so that's not a lot of product for all the time it takes to do it. So when they got their next barrels in, Jeremy, who runs Two Pros, was like, well, we're going to take the tops off them. I'm like, well, that's great, because now I can do just think of it as a giant tea bag suspended inside the barrels, not touching the sides or the bottom, so not in contact with any liquid. We put 5 kilos per bag. We had 20 kilos per barrel. And then we had several barrels, so we did a big lot. And every day, several times a day, I go in there and I shake the tea up in these individual bags and seal the lid back on it, just to make sure the tea's rotated. And we put them in the barrels for, depends on the tea, but anywhere from 5 days to 8 days. Green tea tends to scent faster than black tea, so that was on the lesser side. But so that's kind of how it came about. Was just like I wanted to make a scented tea, but not necessarily with flowers, because I had already done that. So
yeah, it's very unique, and I love how you married it up with another small business, within our province. I love that. So
yeah,
it's very nice. I saw on I think it was on Instagram, the bunny delivery on the weekend.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah. It was fine until it started to rain, and then my poor little bunny head got all matted, soaked, and it was a sad bunny by the time I was done.
It was super cute though. It's and it's those things that are so unique that are happening right now, that it's actually nice to see that people are trying to do the pivot and try to do something different.
And kind of fun it up a little bit. I mean, it's self-isolation is never fun, and you go a little stir crazy when you're a social person like myself, like I really miss customers coming in to my shop. That's why I'm setting up this virtual tea time 4 days a week where I'm on Zoom 2 hours, just people popping in saying, hey, have some tea. Yeah, you're not in the shop, but it's kind of like being across from me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really
Yeah.
trying to like kind of like find the workarounds of like at least to have that sense of community, and me show up on your doorstep with a little thing of tea, whether I'm in a bunny head or not. I've had a lot of conversations across people's front lawns. They're just haven't seen anybody in a week, and they're regular customers that come in here not on a daily basis, but at least a weekly basis, and they're like, we really miss the shop. I'm like, well, me too. I'm here every day, but there's nobody with me except for pigeons outside looking in at me.
Would love to, with my video camera, come and see you in your shop in person instead of just over the internet.
We'll have a real tea time instead of a virtual one. That'll be
exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
we can sit out, we'll sit outside in the fall on my front patio on Argyle Street. It'll be wonderful.
I would love that.
so pretty outside in summer patio.
We'll take what we can get, right?
Goals. We'll set those goals.
Yes,
September.
Exactly. Yes, September. If we're out of this by September, I will be happy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Do you have anything that you would want to tell my tea friends? You ship worldwide?
You ship world on private. Like if they message me, we can definitely do that for them. But we advertise. We only do Canada and US. That's majority of our online market. But just want to say thank you to people. I mean, the support's been great. People just ordering product pickup. We have a lot of customers from Truro as well, all across Nova Scotia and Eastern Canada is kind of our kind of territory, if you want to call it that, where that's where I mostly focus my efforts. A lot of my friends have tea houses or tea companies in other major cities, and I encourage people to buy from them as well to support your independence, because we're the brick and mortars and what makes the streetscapes unique.
Lively. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the big chain stores, but they have a little bit more to draw on when it comes to capital than us small independents that literally live month to month. So it's time to. I've always been a big local kind of pusher, but it's time to do that, or they're not going to exist.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. It is the time.
It is definitely the time.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was great to meet you virtually.
Enjoy your tea. How do you like the port barrel stuff?
I love it. Yes. Yeah. This is my second pot of it, actually. I'm very much enjoying it, and it definitely, you can smell that when you first open up the bag.
I found that Nepal did particularly well in the port barrels, because Nepal tea, at least the stuff from the Chabasi tea garden, is fairly light in character, and it took on the port very well. Where before we did Assam, which is kind of a bold tea anyhow, so it took on the flavor. But I don't know, something with that Nepal, it just worked so well.
Yeah.
And you don't know until you try.
No, it's beautiful. It's very smooth. I love it. Thank you so much. Bye.
You too. Bye.
All right, well, there you had it. We got to meet Phil from the World Tea House. I hope you liked our little conversation, and I was able to ask him a few questions. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about him, his tea house, and his teas, and how he makes this wonderful port barrel scented tea. And I'm so excited because when I purchased this one, I got one for you guys. So I am giving away this. I'm gonna do it on my Instagram. So go on over to Instagram, check out to see how you can win yourself this tea. And of course, I'll probably throw in some other teas because that's how I roll. And I can't wait to try these other two port scented teas that Phil had sent me so graciously and generously. I love that. Wonderful tea community here. This tea is delightful. It is smooth. When you open this, it's like, woof, you can smell it. It's not overpowering when you drink it, but it is just delightful. I really enjoy this. I will see you guys down in the comments down below. Until next time, take care. Bye.